out that the roads had very wide lanes per car. A lot of our roads are default into 4-meter lanes, a 4-meter widening lane where the car passes through.
Okay.
But in slow, dense city streets, you can do with only 3 meters. So the mayor is trying to convince the DPWH to allow her to reduce the width of the lanes. We're not removing lanes in the street, and reducing the lanes by 1 meter will give you additional 2 meters on either side of the road to allow for widened sidewalks and bike lanes. So it can be done. We did the same thing over in Emerald Avenue here. By removing the center island, we were able to add 1.5 meters on either side of. So there are ways to regain the space for sidewalks. It's just creative design.
And you say this is a lot cheaper than maintaining the roads, or?
Well, it's the same price, but now you're focusing on 95% of us who
The
don't
population.
own cars, who don't.
But how about motorcycles, right?
Yes.
If you take a look,
that's a challenge.
the motorcycles can't even find themselves. I mean,
Yes.
where to place themselves on the road.
Yes. So
paano po yung
then
babawasan?
it's a slightly more complicated process of redesigning the roads. Right now, what we're doing is just defaulting into 4-meter wide lanes in roads that just keep on adding lanes. There's no distinction between through traffic and local traffic. So say Commonwealth is the worst example of it. You get 20 lanes, 10 on each side. It doesn't work because it's all in the same. There's no distinction between local, between through traffic, fast lane traffic, and slow. So there's a process called boulevardization in the States and Europe, where they've taken this 10 plus 10 or 20 lane or 16 lane roads and redistributed fast traffic in the center, and then segregated local traffic for local service roads. Now you have to make that distinction, aside from other correctives like not allowing people to park right beside the road, because people then use the road or highway itself as a driveway for backing out. There's so many things that you can do, but it entails good urban design. Most of our roads are just designed by engineers who just lay out the concrete. But proper urban design takes into account what people need in terms of where they walk, where they drive, where they have to take on the buses, and where they have to have some shade, of course, with the trees.
Well, Greenpeace reports that
Yes.
the country has lost about 1 trillion pesos to government's climate tag expenditures and corruption. From 2023 to 2025. That's I think that's the estimate of Greenpeace, but on a more conservative tone, Secretary Ralph Recto has said about 118 billion has been lost from 2023 to 2025. If you were given that much money, let's say 1 trillion, what could have been done with that?
Well, if you not even 1 trillion, you can use some of that for improving pedestrian infrastructure, sidewalks, pedestrian bridges or crossings, non-motorized transport. You have 2 types of transport: motorized transport, and then you have the non-motorized transport, which is bikes and walking, and even scooters, semi-motorized. So we can spend money on making it easier and more comfortable for people to walk. It's called intermodal connectivity also. MRTs and LRTs, when you come up from the jeepney stops, there's almost no sidewalks. The stairs are not properly designed, so that gap,
Sira-sira pa yung
sira-sira pa, and sometimes there's not even. Yes, you would trip and fall everywhere. So we have no. In other cities and other countries, they have departments of sidewalks to look at how to spend the best money or the best amounts of money for that type of infrastructure. And then trees are part of it. Trees and parks, because you have to have relief. Parks in other countries are considered public infrastructure. So we have to get the public works and highways to remember that the first two words are public and works. It's highways is the last thing. Highways is just for cars and vehicles. And then the rest of the transport, we have to refocus from car-based infrastructure to rail and bus. And then in the rail, we have our subways, which is very good. But subways are expensive.
While we're waiting for the subway, because
Yes,
everybody's hoping on that, pinning their hopes on that, no?
BRT is faster, cheaper, and easier to
BRT
build.
bus
Rail, transport.
transit. Yun
Yes,
nasa
busway.
gitna ng
Carousel.
EDSA.
Carousels.
Oh, so just to, it's already in place.
It's already in place, but it's just 20 plus kilometers. Jakarta's BRT system is 200 kilometers. We are only 1/10 of that in Manila, and Cebu is almost a joke at even just 2 kilometers. So we have to embed BRT.
But let's
in the
take a
cities.
look at EDSA for one, no? Yung sidewalks niya. Is it possible to still widen the sidewalks or just to improve it
in
at its
certain
state?
stretches that not all of the
not all.
25 plus kilometers of EDSA can be recovered, but some of it can, and eventually we can give all of our roads what they call a road diet, because there's no way we can address traffic or congestion by keeping on adding one more lane and one more lane because of the principle of induced demand.
Yeah, yes. So what are your thoughts on PAREX? The proposed expressway across the Pasig River.
Yes, all elevated and elevated highways and skyways never work. We are the last city in the world that are building these things.
Really?
Everywhere else, they're tearing them down. Seoul tore them, San Francisco tore theirs down, Boston
Because
tore
of induced demand?
because of induced demand, and they found out that even if you get the traffic on top of it, it's the ramps that clog everything up. It's the on and off ramps that clog it. So it doesn't work. We are the last country in the world, and it's just an agenda pushed by our public works before because of certain reasons and by private individuals, just catering to money they can make from the toll. So it's feeding on already the sickness of being car-centric. It does not work. And PAREX will also destroy the river in environmental terms as well as heritage.
But isn't it quite difficult to, to walk here in the metro? I mean, given usually ang place of work mo ay malayo, several kilometers away.
Yeah.
It's not really next door, right?
Yes.
So you'd have to take some mode of
Yes, you have to take public
transportation.
But then how to get from your house to where you have to get the public transport? The public transport is also a missing link. You have to make it safe, convenient, and comfortable. And that's what we lack. And to do so, you have to have walkable sidewalks, you have to have shade, you have to make sure that the standards of our buses and our minibuses or jeeps are up to standard.
You talked about public parks, and you zoned in on one particular one that's being looked at now, the one in Intramuros. Meron pong golf course doon.
Yeah.
Nasabi niyo matagal niyo nang pinopost na pwede itong maging tawag pumping...
Detention pump for
pump,
somewhat. We proposed that when we were retained to do the master plan for Rizal Park. This is over 10 years ago, 2012, 2013. And we had seen that the park is 58 hectares. The golf course is 60 hectares. But the golf course serves only roughly about 200 to 300 golfers, steady golfers a year. While the park is supposed to service 12 million people. So the minority gets more space than the majority that need open space. So we propose to turn back the golf course into a public park. And it was approved in principle by then DPWH Secretary Babe Singson, who wanted to use the ponds as detention ponds for floodwaters. And by Secretary
could the same be
Monibel.
said by all other golf courses in the metro? We got Wakwak, we have the one in
Camp Aguinaldo,
Yeah,
yeah.
Camp Aguinaldo.
Well, we can't say anything about the private golf
Sabagay.
courses, but the public golf
At
course.
least, right?
Yeah, that's the military camps as well as the Intramuros, and those are public
Where
spaces.
else could we make those kinds of changes? I mean, mga ano yan, low-hanging fruit yan.
Low-hanging fruit would be the Esplanade. Along the Pasig River, you have that Pasig River is 25 kilometers. And each side, if you put a linear park that's 5 to 6 meters wide, you will get the same area eventually as one whole Rizal Park by just building the linear parks along the Pasig
Instead
River.
of a Parex expressway.
Instead of a Parex, our proposal is a Pares, which is Pasig River Esplanade. I mean, the
okay.
government already has started it with 2 kilometers in Manila, beside Intramuros, all the way to the edge of Malacanang. I think they finished phase 4 just last week. But you have 24 more kilometers down the river that you could do, and some of them are already there. They're just not being given enough funding. So even the Paris could use those trillions that we've lost in flood control ghost projects.
Hindi lang beautification, no?
Yes,
I mean,
and
actually make it walkable.
it's
usable.
walkable. It's a park, and then we had proposed, because we were involved in the master plan for that. We had proposed 10 to 12 pedestrian bridges over the Pasig. Pedestrian bridges, the 12 pedestrian bridges can be built for the cost of one vehicular bridge. And that would cut commute times for people walking from, say, Mandaluyong to Makati.
And how would those bridges be built? I mean, naka-elevate talaga.
Yes,
ito.
they're elevated. I mean, they're still pedestrian bridges. The clearance required for the bridges in Pasig River, the minimum is, I think, 4 or 4.5.
Okay.
It's not that difficult, and it's much cheaper to
How
build.
come nobody has taken this up?
I don't
You
know.
proposed it to government
Yes,
already.
we proposed it, and we proposed that it be tied to the ferry stations that are now being considered. Additional ferry stations, as well as improvement of the ferry system. If you notice, the ferry stations are on alternate sides of the Pasig River. So if you have one, say like in Santa Ana, Santa Ana already has a pedestrian bridge in Pasig. You have one in Guadalupe, but you don't have one in Barrio Pineda. Now, if you had a ferry station here, the other side can't reach you unless they go and take 2 jeeps. But if you had a pedestrian bridge beside each ferry station, then the other side of the city can come to use this ferry station, and you don't have to build
Correct.
ferry stations on
And it
either
moves
side.
from east to west, right?
Well,
Pasig River,
the
pag
Pasig
ganun
River moves east to west. So there are lots of things that you can look at. So we have to look at the whole picture in terms of public transport planning, from where you start your day to where you end, where you go, usually work, and how to get back.
And DASA DOTR started consulting people like you.
Yes, they have good people in their plantilla. I think some of them were my students. But we need environmental planners, urban designers, and landscape architects to design for people. DPWH engineers are fine. You give them a problem.
Who's the one approving all of these contracts? Is it DPWH mainly?
Oh, well,
Is it
it's
not
not-
proposed by the DOTR and then...
Yeah, it's DOTR and DPWH. But what we're pushing for in the Philippine Association of Landscape Architects and Philippine Institute of Environmental Planners is that they have plantilla positions which they don't have yet formally.
In the DOTR?
In DOTR, DPWH for planners and landscape architects. Landscape.
Wala pa po.
Wala.
So it's usually...
engineers.
Ah,
They used to have
Okay.
a full plantilla for architects. We had very beautifully designed infrastructure before World War II. That was because they had a full plantilla of architects.
and then what
trained.
happened? Why did these...
It evolved, and of
architects
course,
get phased out.
I figured corruption just set in, and it became all default just to make money for as we have now know. So that started.
You notice another thing about flood control. Where was that photo taken? Where there was only one side cemented, tapos sa kabila walang dike, walang
That was
riprap.
in, I believe, Lucena. So I traveled the country, planning jobs, and we see all of the rivers in the 18 major river basins in the Philippines being lined on one side or the other, and sometimes all the way up to the mountains where it's actually not needed to line it with concrete. And Yusek David of DNR confirmed my suspicion that these things really don't work, and all it does is just to funnel floodwaters down to the towns and cities much faster, and that the natural edges of our rivers should be left to do their job, which is to absorb the floodwaters and just slow them down. So the floodwaters...
Nawawala yung absorptive capacity.
Yes, nawawala yung absorptive, and it disrupts the habitats. Everything wrong with the system now being implemented by DPWH, which is default, line everything with concrete.
No, but it's funny because in the photos that you took,
only
or
one
posted
side.
rather, only one side had riprap.
Well, it seems to be a function of the 150 million cap for the districts. So they would do 150, wait a
next
year,
year.
and sometimes it doesn't happen. And
Okay.
so it doesn't work that way. If you need to fix it, then you have to do two sides usually, and then make sure that it starts and ends where it's supposed to be. But it's not based. Most of these things we now find are not based on master plans. Under Babe Singson, there were master plans for the 18 major, or a lot of the major river basin systems, but they were thrown out the window when it came to implementation, because everybody just applied for their insertions. And it's low-hanging fruit just to make the most money, as we now know.
Moving away from Metro Manila and looking at other cities, where would you start? I mean, is there any city that somehow has good foundations when it comes to the transport system that we can build on, at least have a model city?
No.
None?
Because our urban planning has followed the direction of urban sprawl. So to make it fixable, you have to also fix our land use and our zoning systems. Land use planning must come first before transport planning, where we put people's homes.
And what's wrong with our land
Because
use planning?
we're based on sprawl. That means we do single detached houses in large subdivisions, farther and farther away from the city. Then you have to have highways and roads to connect. So we don't have smart densities, mid-rise buildings. So land use planning has to come in before transport planning. We can retrofit some of the cities. The secondary cities are easier to fix because they have less problems. So you have Iloilo, Bacolod, Naga, Tacloban, Tagbilar. Those are the less dense cities with less than 1 million people. It's easier to fix these cities than large metro regions like Metro Manila.
And how would you do it if you had a chance? I mean,
First do an
land
audit.
use planning.
First do an audit for transport.
No, for land use planning.
For land use, then you have to look at the comprehensive land use plans, which all LGUs have to redo every 9 years or so, and then to refocus this land use planning based on how to really build cities that are more efficient in terms of use of the land, in terms of transport systems. So you work back, removing the old mindset of car-based infrastructure to rail and road-based.
How about high-rise buildings? For example, the dilemma over in Green Hills, right?
Yes.
Parang they were protesting the building of another high-rise condominium beside the residential area. But if you take a look at that specific zone, it's near the business center.
Yeah.
So how would you decide?
Well, that's a NIMBY thing, not in my backyard. And the thing is, there's nowhere to go but up. Of course, there are more efficiencies in medium-rise buildings than very tall buildings. It's a mathematical thing. If you redevelop districts into mid-rise buildings of 10 to 15 stories high, you can get the same efficiencies or number of people in a block. You have to look at it in terms of blocks than having point blocks or tall towers. A tall tower, the people you can put in a tall tower can be accommodated in lower rise, what they call perimeter medium-rise buildings.
Madami na lang.
Marami na lang, lower, and you can get the same yields or number of units that you can sell. But it's a problem of opportunities for developers who end up only with very small lots. So that's where your land use comes in that you have planned unit developments or district redevelopments encouraged by the city to redevelop in terms of blocks rather than in single lots where then you have to go 50 stories to get the same amount of
So you would
yield.
not encourage the high-rise?
There are options. We fall back to high rises because that's the opportunities that are given the developers. So that's where you come in with proper urban planning in terms of planning by district, by blocks rather than by individual opportunities.
Yeah, because in Singapore, if you take a look, there are a lot of mid-rise.
Yes.
Tama ba? Mid-rise
Yes.
condominiums.
Yes.
And
they do that because
that's how they house their population.
Yes, and in where it's owned by private owners, they have a law called the en bloc sales. That means in a given area or district, if I think it's 75% of the landowners agree to it, the 25 cannot oppose. They have to sell out for redevelopment. So it's creative governance, but it's mainly proper urban planning. So once you show people that these are the options, you have to have options. What we don't have here as options, so we default into.
How
all
should
of
we exercise creative planning over flood control? I mean, how do we begin to reimagine that away from the way we've always seen it?
Well, you have to step back to the master plan for the river basins. It's environmental planning at the largest context. We have 18 major river basins. All of them are prone to flooding because we have denuded the uplands of all of the forests. So it all falls down. So we have to have a master plan. And really the solution, long-term solution, is replant the forest, put detention lakes at every level before it reaches the cities. And all of this a lot of this don't require concrete, which is the default of the DPWHs. Theirs is just a single-minded solution when we really have to attack it with I hate to say
More
this,
comprehensive plan.
the whole of government, whole of the society direction.
All the effects of the concrete dikes are much more immediate, I guess.
Yes, there are places where you need them, but from what I've seen, maybe only 20% of the places I've seen really need the levees and dikes because it's at the end of the solution.
So can 1 trillion get us far?
Oh yeah.
Where can that get us?
Well, look at the cities that are worst hit by the flooding, and then that's where you put most of the badly spent money.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us this morning and telling us how we can see the metro again. Time and time again, we need the reminder not to get lost in the hopelessness of our transport system, right?
For government,
find solutions.
Hire professionals, professional planners, urban designers, and landscape architects. Hire them.
It is possible, and we need more revolutionary minds like you. Thank you. Keep on posting. Thank you so much for your time and insights this morning. We have urban planner and landscape architect Paulo Alcazaren. Up next, the Armed Forces of the Philippines dismissed social media rumors that President Bongbong Marcos planned to remove military retirement benefits. Stay tuned. Morning Matters will be back after a quick break. Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. Former PNP Chief General Nicolas Torre III dismissed rumors that he would run for vice president. In an interview with 1PH Totoo Lang, Torre said he could hardly handle his previous post. He added that he has yet to decide on his next move once his leave ends on October 31.
Parang hindi ko kakayanin dahil pag PNP nga lang, 85 days nga lang ako, tanggal agad eh. So, baka naman pag nag-VP ako, na-impeach ka agad ako, baka 84 days lang o 83 days lang.
Torre also commented on the allegations of kidnapping against former President Rodrigo Duterte, saying the issue should be left to the courts to decide. He acknowledged that the Dutertes are entitled to their opinions, but it is now a legal matter.
For one, mga kuha nila yan eh. Mga opinion nila yan. So, okay lang na they can say what they want. We respect them. We respect their opinions. Pero nasa korte na yan at dapat ng pabayaan ng korte na mag-decide at talagang mag-pronounce kung ano ba talaga ang nangyari na yan.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines is warning that retired military personnel who spread fake news or incite uprisings against the government could lose their monthly pension. AFP spokesperson Colonel Francel Padilla said that while retirees are now considered civilians, the AFP is studying whether they can still be held liable under military law, possibly even through court-martial proceedings. This comes after some retired officers called on soldiers to withdraw support from President Marcos amid protests over alleged anomalies in flood control projects. The AFP, though, clarified that the president did not order the removal of military retirement benefits, dismissing this information as false and misleading.
If the legal channels determines that this is so, then we will follow. The AFP is not gonna take this sitting down. So we are aware that all of these things are happening, and of course, we will react accordingly po.
The Philippines and France will conduct the second round of talks on a visiting forces agreement in December this year, this time in Manila. It is a big step forward in what could become the first Philippine VFA with a European nation. Mobile journalist Mary Monreyes with the story.
France and the Philippines will have a second round of talks on a visiting forces agreement in December, this time hosted by Manila. This was confirmed by French ambassador to the Philippines, Marie Fontanelle, to One News during a recent Blue Talks forum co-hosted by the Strat-based Institute and the Embassy of France in the Philippines. The first round of VFA talks was held in Paris in June this year. This one with France is known as a Status of Visiting Forces Agreement, or SOFA, similar to the one with Australia. It will allow both sides to stage military exercises in each other's territory. If the deal is signed, France would become the first European country to have a VFA with the Philippines. It has greatly stepped up engagement with the Philippines recently, including sending its aircraft carrier, Charles de Gaulle, here for the first time this year and joining the annual Balikatan exercises with the US as observers in April.
In this regard, France remains steadfast in supporting multilateralism and a rules-based international order, especially in the Indo-Pacific. France's presence and commitment to the stability of the region alongside the Philippines is the result of a simple truth. We are not distant observers of the Indo-Pacific. We are part of it.
At the forum, experts sounded the alarm over China's increasing aggression. Strat-based non-resident fellow Benjamin Blandin warned that Beijing's asymmetric warfare tactics have ramped up in recent years, covering not just militarization of the islands, but also fortifying their maritime militia, sending fake scientific vessels, putting down sovereignty markers at sea, and cyber warfare. The problem, Blandin warns, is that most of these tactics are not in the open or are hard to detect.
And what you see here is actually a very, very small fraction. Remember, 300 different phenomena. Here I only shown 12 out of 300. But what is also very interesting to notice is that out of all those 300 phenomena that I was able to list, only 23% is actually what we see on TV. The ramming, the water cannoning, and all those things. Only 23% is visible and displayed on TV, meaning 80 or near 80% never appears on TV.
As such, several recommendations for better maritime governance in the Indo-Pacific were brought up, especially between the Philippines and France, including an integrated governance framework and joint maritime domain awareness through shared surveillance data, satellite technology, and coordinated research.
The Philippines' strategic location and France's technological expertise make for a natural partnership in monitoring illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing, marine pollution, and marine incursions. We can institutionalize multilateral dialogues and education and training platforms where civil servants, coast guards, and local leaders are trained on sustainable maritime management and maritime law enforcement and crisis communication in contested waters.
The Philippine Coast Guard says it will also support a potential cooperative agreement with their Chinese counterparts, according to Commodore J. Tariela, PCG spokesperson for the West Philippine Sea. That's after Foreign Affairs Secretary Teresa Lazaro revealed that they are working on an MOU between the PCG and CCG. This comes a few days after the October 12 incident, wherein China once again used water cannons and rammed a Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources vessel off Pag-asa Island.
Since we launched the KBBM project, no, yung kadiwa para sa bagong bayani mangista, we have concentrated the deployment of Coast Guard and BFAR vessels in those areas that we monitored the high presence of the Filipino fishing boats. Despite our presence, you saw from the videos that we released, no, the Chinese are launching their rigid hull inflatable boat.
Kapatid Mary Monreyes, we are One News.
European and Southeast Asian business leaders are looking to deepen economic ties as talks for a Philippines-European Union free trade agreement are set to resume. Mobile Journal Fatima Baduria reports.
European and Southeast Asian business leaders met during the European-Philippine Business Dialogue in Makati to strengthen trade and investment ties. The European Chamber of Commerce of the Philippines and EU-ASEAN Business Council launched a dialogue on how the Philippines can solidify its trade and investment ties with Europe. The event was held ahead of the resumption of negotiations for the European Union-Philippines Free Trade Agreement, or FTA.
This commitment exhibits both mutual confidence and a shared understanding of the significant potential that the modern, comprehensive free trade agreement can offer for economic growth in the Philippines.
The Philippines economy is seen as one of the fastest growing in Asia, but attracting investors remain a challenge amid issues.
While we anticipate a temporary slowdown in the latter half of the year, partly as a result of recent corruption scandals involving infrastructure projects, we are confident that governance reforms and institutional improvements that follow will ultimately reinforce the economy's foundations.
That once there is a clear, like there is now, a good taking care of these aspects and there is good accountability, I'm pretty sure that investor will not be disincentivized.
The FTA aims to avoid tariff mechanisms, opening access between European and Philippine businesses.
To ensure that both for the Philippine and European Union side, investors have the possibility to bring their own business, their own goods, their own services to each other side.
The fourth round of negotiations for the European Union-Philippines FTA is set to take place in Cebu next week. Kapatid Fatima Baduria, we are One News.
The U.S. has blocked a landmark deal to cut carbon emissions from ships, a move that could hurt thousands of Filipino seafarers and stall global climate action. The International Maritime Organization postponed a vote on its net zero framework after U.S. President Donald Trump threatened sanctions against countries supporting the plan. The deal would have imposed carbon pricing on ships starting 2028, with proceeds funding low-emission vessels and climate aid for vulnerable nations like the Philippines. The U.S., joined by Saudi Arabia, Russia, and the UAE, opposed the proposal, calling it a global green new scam. For maritime nations like the Philippines, the delay means another year of uncertainty for workers and another missed chance to curb the industry's carbon footprint. The fourth phase of the Pasig River Urban Development Project is now open to the public. President Bongbong Marcos led the launch of the 530-meter stretch, which features bike lanes and walkways, providing new recreational spaces in Manila.
There are bike lanes and walkways ideal for running or cycling, or as demonstrated by my son, also skateboarding.
President Marcos also highlighted the Mediterranean-inspired lampposts designed for night walking and encouraged visitors to take sunset strolls along the river. In addition, the project introduced an AI and solar-powered clearing robot that patrols the river to collect trash, reducing reliance on chemically operated clearing boats.
You can enjoy a sunset stroll hand in hand with your significant other. At kung wala pa siya, baka naman dito mo naman mahanap yung the one.
In sports, Team Asia secured an 11-3 win over the rest of the world on Sunday, successfully defending the Reyes Cup crown. The triumph was fueled by AJ Manas, the 18-year-old Filipino sensation, who emerged as the tournament MVP. His day 2 upset of world number 1 Fedor Gors gave Team Asia a commanding 6-0 lead in the standings. Manas teamed up with world 9-ball champion Carlo Biado on day 4 to clinch a 5-2 win over Gorst and Moritz Neuhausen. Aloysius Yap's opener victory over Jason Shaw helped set the stage for Team Asia's dominant championship finish. An undermanned De La Salle University stunned defending champion University of the Philippines in a UAAP Season 88 thriller. Luis Pablo led the Green Archers with 14 points against his former team, while Earl Abadam and Boris Marasigan delivered clutch plays to seal the win. Despite missing injured recruits Kian Baclaan and Mason Amos, LaSalle notched its 4th win in 7 games. Meanwhile, the Far Eastern University bounced back strong, defeating a short-handed University of the East. Now, despite the absence of coach Chris Gavina and Welo Lingo due to suspensions, the Red Warriors could not keep up as FEU secured its 2nd win of the season. And that wraps up today's episode of Morning Matters. We hope we've given you the right start to your morning. Let's go ahead and make the day and the week matter. My name is Gretchen Ho. Kapatid, we are One News, all science, all the time.